If you're looking for a clean, sober, professional, academic,
well-researched, historically accurate, generally accurate, serious podcast
on Southern folklore, ghosts, bizarre events, and unique people,
this podcast is not for you.
However, if you've decided you can live with that,
then join us for The Strange South.
The Strange South.
Hi, Marleah.
Hi, Patrice. Hi, Courtney.
Hello,
Courtney.
y'all.
Oh.
Welcome to another episode.
Here we are, together again.
Yay!
Drinking alcohol
Like
in the
we
middle of the
do.
day on Sunday, as you should.
Sundays were meant for liquor.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
This is a
Cheers.
classic, but a strong one.
It is very strong.
Well,
good.
because why? Why is this so strong?
I'll tell you
Courtney?
why. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Okay, everyone knows if you've listened long enough that have strong feelings about gin and they're not positive.
It's
However,
so sad. Travesty.
However,
It
we
is.
talked last episode about how we went to Dread River and we used their vodka last week. And we also bought the gin from Dread River in Birmingham.
Mhm.
And my friend Renee, before we went, she said, try their gin. I know you don't like gin, but I think you'll like this gin. And I was like, okay, sure.
Whatever.
And then we go on the distillery tour and they talk about how they make their gin. And in the middle, they're telling us how, unlike a lot of gins, you have to have 51% juniper to be a gin. And they do have that.
See, Courtney remembers
But they
things. and
also
listens.
have to.
Right.
Especially
We have
when it
children. That's
comes to alcohol. That's my job. Y'all are like doing story stuff. I'm learning about liquor, right?
yes.
And so they also, though, they fill a basket in their distillery. And when the first, whatever, the liquor comes out, they run it through a basket of dried, like, peels of oranges and lemons and other spices.
Mhm.
And it gives it this different flavor. And that's why I wanted us to have at least one classic gin martini.
Yes.
So
Which
that you
is-
could enjoy the flavors.
So you could taste that flavor that is different. And it's just Dread River gin and a tiny bit of dry vermouth and a lemon twist that you squeeze to get the lemon oils on.
Mhm.
It is delicious, and you can taste a difference than just
Mhm.
regular gin with this.
I wouldn't be drinking it like
Taste
this if
the
not. So I really do like it. So cheers to you and cheers to Dread River
Cheers
for
to
this gin.
straight gin.
Cheers to gin.
Oh, my Lord.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This is delicious.
It is delicious, and it's also pretty. Martinis are always pretty.
Yes,
Mhm.
lovely pictures. Marleah. I mean, Patrice is
I'm-
drinking out of her martini glass.
On Marleah.
Did you notice how slowly I picked it up
I
to like
know.
move it to?
Nothing
I was
has sloshed.
just thinking I need a sippy cup.
She has a fear of martini glasses,
I
but we're going to
do.
get her over them.
Because I just end up wearing it instead of drinking it.
I have a running gifts list, and I've tried to get better over the years at adding things as people say them.
Sippy cup martini glass.
So sippy cup martini glass goes.
I'm against that.
on.
There
I know
are
you are.
there are not many drinks that require a specific glass, but a martini is one of them.
But I mean,
It
it could
has
still
to-
be the shape of a martini glass. It just needs
a lid.
like a nipple on
Well,
top.
hell, we could just put a bendy straw in there for that matter,
Oh,
I
we
guess.
could get you a bendy straw.
But
But what we put a lid on it though. It needs
Yeah.
a lid though.
It's the
Because
it's
you
the
still have to
picking
pick it up.
part, and
We
the
could get a
sloshing.
really long bendy straw.
Crazy
super,
straw.
Super long crazy straw.
You could just let it sit there on the
it's like
table.
its own little roller coaster.
Just get one of those damn beer helmets and pour gin in the top and drink it from the.
Oh my god! No.
Don't
would-
do that.
I would
Seriously, don't do
die.
that.
Yeah.
You could. Alcohol poisoning
We
is
do not
real.
endorse this idea at all.
No binge.
Do not shotgun liquor.
no binge gin. That's hard to say. No binge gin.
Jesus. Well, what have we got going on for the front of show?
You know, I haven't really read all of it and watched all of it. I do feel like we do need to mention about the Georgia Guidestones.
Oh, my
my
God.
God. Well, because this is old news by the time
It
this
is old
episode's
news.
coming out. But yes,
But also, if you haven't been like on the fan group, then
which you should be.
you should be.
You would
'cause
know things like this a
because
month
that's how
ago.
you learned about it. That's how I learned about it.
You're right. That's where all the sharing and caring goes on.
And so many of our friends on the fan group were like posting like, oh my God, I saw this. Oh my God, I wanted to share this with you.
Yes, exactly. So if you haven't heard or just avoid news, which I totally get because I avoid news as well because I like to like not be depressed all the time.
Fair enough.
But the Georgia Guidestones are no more.
Someone blew them up.
Someone blew them up.
And then the town finished the job, right?
And then the town
Didn't they?
finished. Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, one's gone. Might as well take down the other two. And the main reason that the town had problems with them is because they thought there was devil worshiping going on there, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
They also thought that there was a time capsule and they dug it up. But they really did dig, even though that wasn't true what they found.
Oh, that
right.
was really funny though.
But the town really did. I found a legit news article that the town did, that the city, once they blew them up, looked.
What was that joke post? Was that
my
there
God,
was like
it was
a Peterbilt logo?
Perfect. It's like a
and
Playboy.
A Playboy with
magazine.
Burt Reynolds on the cover.
that was signed by Burt Reynolds
And
as
he was
well.
on the cover
And he
and
was on the
signed.
cover.
And
there was
1,700 to 1,300 Quaaludes valued at $2 million.
Yes.
And
and then the Peterbilt decal and one other thing. I can't remember what the last
the
thing was.
Quaaludes, the Peterbilt, the Playboy.
The Playboy, and there were four things. Anyways, but
was very-
that was
Was there
funny.
liquor in it or something maybe?
I didn't think so. I
No,
can't
it
remember.
was,
I feel like it was like an RC Cola or something.
Whoever posted that, they got me at first. I was like,
Me too.
Wait, is this real?
I was thinking, was Johnny Cash here?
Oh my God. Oh, and if you're wondering what the fuck we're talking about, and
Okay.
go back to episode 74. Patrice
Elbert
talks
County.
about the Georgia Guidestones.
Yes.
It's called The Ugliest Guidestones in Georgia.
It was a tape of Saturday. It was an 8-track of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
Yes. Yeah, it was a really, really funny. And I mean,
Right.
so quick. They came out with that spoof article
Oh,
like
and
immediately.
Immediately. They were on it. Everybody was on it. I'm just going like, what? So we checked that off the must see
Yeah, because it's
list
not there anymore.
because it's not there anymore, which is not a bad thing. I mean,
Because as you talked about, the history of it is problematic.
it's problematic. He was, white supremacist, eugenic.
super
person.
problematic.
One of the other memes somebody posted was Dollar General coming soon.
Oh my God, I saw that one.
Yes.
It's probably true.
And it probably will be true.
Well, the thing that the politicians in the area have been like petitioning is to get rid of it because of all the devil worshiping that's been going on there.
all the devil worship.
All the devil worshiping
Jesus
and
fucking Christ.
right. And so, I mean, I went to some of my friends who live in Georgia and are very familiar with the Guidestones. When they posted about it and there was like all the comments, there was screenshots on Facebook of like the politicians talking about like, all the devil worshiping and how they need to go. That's, draws nothing but like Satanist or whatever. And it's just like, I'm like, have y'all read the Guidestones? It's like, do y'all know what's going on
I'm
there?
sure they don't.
They don't. And so the fact that they blew them up is kind of like brilliant and perfect because they were problematic. The only real reason to go there is because it's just kind of this oddity,
Mm-hmm.
just like you find like the houses with like the bazillion crosses in the front
Mhm.
yard. It's just a Southern oddity that we all kind of grow up with. And the fact that they blew it up is sad in one regards, but again, the message was not great. But obviously the message didn't matter because nobody fucking read it anyway.
I know.
So I posted somewhere, I bet you they like put a cross on it because of like all just the hate that they got from it, from the local people, just hating on it. And I'm like, dude, it's like a perfect tourist trap. It's like perfect.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, like Satanists have money too. Jesus.
yeah, good Lord. Yes.
Also, they don't exist. But whatever.
Yeah. Just figment of your imagination. But
Oh, Guidestones. Farewell.
Farewell.
My Guidestones.
Rip.
Rip.
Rest in pieces.
I just
Oh.
want to make sure I wasn't like reading fake news. It was from the Elbert County. Let's see. The Elberton Star did say that Elbert County Road Department dug up land where alleged time capsule was buried at the site of the Georgia Guidestones. There was no time capsule found at the site, despite false information circulating other social media pages.
The funniest false information local news can provide.
Right. It was dead on though.
Oh my God, it was so good.
I was laughing so hard.
It really did get me for a minute. I was
Yeah,
like,
me
"Well,
too. I was like,
I
well,
don't disbelieve it.
I don't either.
Well,
So that's the only current-ish news that caught my attention for opening up the episode.
That and the joyride of Patrick, our friend.
yeah,
The joyrider.
our friend who runs a auto repair shop and had a 12-year-old steal a car and ride it into the side of his building the other day. Bless.
Luckily, no one was injured. There was some damage to his place. Sorry, Patrick.
You know, all I can think of is your stories about stealing your grandmother's car. I was like, Courtney's lucky this never happened to her.
I was in Fife. There were no buildings. It was just trees. I hit several trees, though. And as you know, one hound dog. It was sad.
Oh no!
Sad,
I know.
sad
I can't
tale.
tell it again.
Sad,
I'll
sad
cry.
tale.
Oh,
Don't
no.
cry. That's not where we want to be today.
No.
We're not. This isn't a crying episode,
It's not
friends.
funny, but I did it. And I learned a large lesson of life and the power of automobiles.
The power of automobiles.
Absolutely. Since we are both having teenagers come up, that's getting very close to the driving age.
And listen, all of our friends who have teenagers who are like getting close to the driving age, because I've heard so many people say my teenager has no interest in getting their driver's license.
Yeah.
My teenager seems to be an exception to the rule. My introverted doesn't usually want to leave the house or talk to anyone teenager is like, yeah, I'm going to get my license. Like, yeah, I'm going to get my permit.
I talked to her about it. I talked to them about it yesterday, and they were like all over it.
Yeah, they're all about it. I'm
yeah.
like, all right.
I give 2 thumbs up.
I do
To
too.
all the parents whose teens don't want it, I'm like, I'm not your chauffeur for the rest of your life.
I was going to say, because if they had said no, they didn't want to do it, I was going to say, like, well, we're going to start the process at 15 and we are going to get you your license because for real, I will not be your chauffeur for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
It takes up, I mean, I swear, like driving my kids takes up more parenting time than anything else that I do.
Because of where we live, you don't have another option. If not, there's no bus. There's
they
no
can't
train.
walk
There's no
to any
taxi.
place.
There's
I
no
know, and all
Uber,
of
there's
y'all
no-
who are similarly in the rural South or rural anywhere, y'all get
You
what we're
know.
saying here. I was listening to some friends of mine from high school. Well, I wasn't listening to them. I was in a conversation with them, but I was just quietly listening to this part because they were talking about how far things were. We're going to visit a friend of mine, and all of us are going to kind of converge on his little town in coastal North Carolina. And he was like, you don't understand how small it is. It's like 10 minutes to the grocery store. And I'm like, yeah. It was like, we grew up outside of DC, but like all of us moved to different places. Some of us moved to California and some of us moved to bigger places, but like I moved down here.
Right.
I know things are far.
Right.
Things are far from
10
places.
minutes.
We don't have sidewalks. Hell, we don't even have sidewalks in town.
All right. Yeah, our bike lane is literally just a bike
It's just
painted on the street and fucking good luck to you.
Right in front of my house.
our bike
And the
lane.
only reason we have that is because of the Cheehaw Challenge.
Which is an international qualifier for
I know.
the Tour de France kind of thing. It's
somehow-
like big news. So
Somehow we don't leverage that into bigger things, but
Like sidewalks.
you know what? I can't
Or bike
bitch about
actual
it.
bike lanes.
I'm absolutely unwilling to engage in public government or any,
Yeah, same
anything
here.
like that. So I guess I can't bitch because I'm just like, I ain't gonna do it. I just
Yeah.
expect you guys to.
right.
But
Oh, I can still bitch about it, but yeah, same thing. I will not be volunteering for that thankless, horrible job
Yep, I'm gonna.
that somebody needs to do a better job at.
I can't even replace my own driveway. You can fall into my driveway all the way to like Australia or
To the
some shit
upside
right now.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is a portal.
fall to the upside down in my driveway. Y'all keep left. Oh,
We-
I'm not telling you that. If you come to my house uninvited, stay on the right.
Yeah.
But anyway. All right. Well, I'm first today.
Yay.
This is
Do it.
Do it.
Okay, pretend like you've never heard anything like this before in your lives.
I don't remember.
I don't.
Yeah, I know. See, we told this before, but we lost an entire episode on because of technical problems with our recorder. Like it just
Sorry.
died. No, it's
Is
not.
it recording?
Patrice doesn't need to
The
apologize.
technical problem is called Patrice.
No, the technical problem is called technical problem. It's called it stopped. stopped. The thing stopped.
The thingy McGigger stopped
And-
recording.
And so like we lost it.
I see
And
red lights.
but I think we were drunk enough by the time I did this one that maybe you don't remember much of it. You're probably going to have that brain itch where it's like, I think I've heard something like before.
What
I'm
is
excited.
it? Me too.
Yep.
All right.
I love people to tell me what I did in the past, much less a story. It was told to me in the past.
Well, I changed some of the intro stuff, so maybe it will be new to you because
Well, I was just going to say, remember, we both have grown up in the South.
Mhm.
And so it is a common pastime for older people to tell us the same thing
All the
over
time.
and over again, especially
Mhm.
like different triggers of like the road and landmarks will
Mhm.
come. Like, so we are here for it.
I'm ready.
all right. Well, the reason that I started going down this road had to do with the fact that we all seem to have cats on the brain for a while.
Cats.
And we all still do because Patrice has two brand new, adorable itty bitty kitties, itty bitty kitty mini in her bedroom,
Right.
growing up into little monsters
They
right now,
are little
and they're
monsters.
adorable. And one of them has a heart on the side of her, on her side in her
Yes.
fur. It's super cute.
I have a kitten.
And I know Courtney's always got cats on the brain because Courtney never stops thinking about her kitten.
She's 2 and 11.5 pounds, but she's a kitten.
And of course, I have my cats.
Yes.
I know my cats are probably the least like fanfared of any of our cats, but I do love them. They're sweet.
I love your
my
cats,
three
too.
friends,
Yeah.
my 3 little friends. So we all have cats like in our lives all the time. So I was looking at cats in Appalachian folklore. And there's a blog that I've gone to before. It's called Holy Stones and Iron Bones. And it's a really cool blog, which of course I'll link, but they posted some stuff about this. As I was starting to read it, it seems like cats have a kind of an odd place in Appalachian folk stories because you often think about cats as being like the witch's familiar,
Mhm.
as, being a bad luck. But in folklore, a lot of the time cats are also good luck. And Holy Stones and Iron Bones talks about specifically the belief in, and this is one of those, it's going to go a bunch of different directions, but we're going to start with the black cat bone
Yes.
as a good luck charm. This isn't just Appalachia. Across the world, like they use black cat bones specifically as part of like a hoodoo bag. It can do various things. You can, it can bring good luck. It can bring aid. It can bring money. Some people say that if you hide, it can make you invisible. It can give you luck if you're gambling. But there are some differences in how you find a black cat bone and how you use it, depending on what story you're listening to. So one of the stories I found said that you get a black cat bone by catching a black cat and boiling it alive in a pot of water at midnight.
No.
At midnight.
I'm against this.
Yes.
We do not support this.
No.
Right.
Not every bone in a black cat is the black cat bone.
Mm.
Every black cat has just one bone that's magical, according to lore. And there are a couple different theories on how you find the right one. So Zora Neale Hurston wrote about this. She wrote a book called Mules and Men.
Mules and men.
And she said that you'd have
Eyes are
to
what you
you'd have
got.
to fast before you catch the animal, and then you do have to boil it. Sorry, and
No, Zora.
the hoodooist would taste each bone after boiling, and then select the bitterest one as the black cat bone.
Hard pass.
For
Yeah.
I know, right? Like, so that was one way you would find. I guess magic is bitter. I guess magic tastes like
Magic tastes
bad?
bitter.
magic
Oh.
tastes bad. So there were other stories that say that you would know the bone because it would be the size of your own tooth, or it would fit perfectly over your own tooth, which once again requires someone to put a cat bone into their mouth.
So it's not like the wishbone. It's not like you always know in the
it's
turkey.
not like,
you
yeah,
get
it's
the
not like the
wishbone.
femur is the
not
black
like
cat bone.
the-
You have to discover which of the bones is the magic bone.
Which may be the reason to catch and boil a live cat, as dead cats, you do not want to put dead things in your mouth.
I don't want to put any of it in my mouth.
Either way, yes. Anyway,
But
I'm just trying to
I'm following the
rationalize.
trying to-
logic,
don't
though. I got the
rationalize.
logic a little bit.
There was also this one I would go for much more easily is that it's the first one to rise while boiling. Okay, we'll go with that.
Right.
Or it's the one that temporarily blinds you when you put it in your mouth. I was like, why do all these have to do with me putting a dead cat's bones in my mouth?
That's a no-go for me.
there was another. You're going to hate this so much.
Only if Cece tried to eat me first.
All the cat killing stuff we're going to get rid of right here at the beginning. We're just going to cleanse it. Another method was to fry the cat and eat it alone in a dark room. And when you bite the right bone, a thunder or flash of lightning would show in the room. And so you would know.
No, kitten.
There was one that said when dumped in the, but yours is not a black cat.
No,
Oh,
she has
panther.
half a black face.
Panther, I know.
When you dump the bones in the river, the magic black cat bone would either be the one that floats to the top and goes in circles, or it's the one that comes back to you on the bank, or it could be the one that flows fastest down the stream, or it could be the only bone to float and go against the current of the water.
Oh, wow. That sounds magical.
So there are a bunch of different ways.
This
What the
is
hell? You got to
very
jump in and chase it?
Detailed.
Yes, it's a very detailed, but these are all from like different people's ways of finding the magic bone of the black cat bone. So after you find one, there were different stories on how you get it to work for you.
As someone who grew up in Appalachia, I don't agree with any of this. I don't know anybody who's ever done this.
I don't either. But I mean, I didn't grow up here. So some people say if you wrap the bone in a new piece of red flannel, you go to the graveyard and you find the oldest grave. And at the strike of midnight, you mark an X into the dirt over the heart of the grave. But I actually didn't write down what that's supposed to do or why the bone has to be in a piece of flannel.
It seems very like
A piece of
voodoo-ish,
flannel?
So
A piece of flannel? I don't know. It makes me think of tartans.
Yeah.
The old Scotch that came over into Appalachia. Tartan pieces.
So from all this, we know the black cat's bone is supposed to be good luck, but the cat itself is like 50-50 in different lore. Good luck, bad luck. So
which I can see for a cat because cats are pretty indifferent.
Yeah.
So they can be
They're
like snuggle buddies or they
chaotic
can
neutral. Yeah.
be like chaotic neutral. Perfect.
So the same holy stones and iron bones. Wait, holy bones and iron stones. Holy stones and iron bones. Blog says that calicos are good luck.
Cece!
Yay.
But a male calico is bad luck
Well, it's almost never happened.
was
because
just
they
gonna
can't.
say.
They're all impotent. If they ever
Yeah.
happen, they can't breed, so they
Yeah.
consider it bad luck.
Well, that would be good luck because
I know, right?
You have to neuter.
I mean, nowadays,
your
for
animals.
sure.
Yeah.
Actually, at any time, really, because who wants all those cats running around?
Right.
So the black cats are kind of in folk medicine, and that they can they have healing abilities, kind of, and that they can pass these abilities on to other things. So there was a saying that a house with a black cat can't be conjured, which is awesome. So you're protected.
Cece's mama's black. She was in the front of my house. That's why I'm protected. What?
Patrice just laughing her ass off now.
I saw her. She hissed at me.
I know. So any water or milk from which a black cat has drunk is a good cure for things like whooping cough, thrush, hand, foot, mouth sickness.
Oh, weird.
This
but
is
no.
a story.
Feline leukemia.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't do that. There's another blog that I've followed, or blog or website, called The Blind Pig and the Acorn, and I've told some stories from there before. They kind of talked about some of these too, and some of the stuff that they said was that the author said that when they were a teenager, they would ride on the roads with their friend, and every time they saw a black cat, the friend would lick her finger and make an X mark on the windshield to ward off bad luck.
Did it. Do it.
You did that? Whenever you see a black cat?
When it crosses, I make an X on my windshield.
So that's the thing.
I feel like that's
I don't lick my finger, but I was taught that from a young age. My parents did it. When one runs across the street in front of you, you mark it out.
Totally didn't know that.
Yeah, because I've had multiple black cats in my life, I always feel like it's good luck. I'm always happy to see a black cat. And when it like walks in front of my car or whatever, I am just, I don't know, I feel good.
Well, it's because they stop you from being cursed, apparently.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's a bad thing, but yeah.
I don't know. I was taught to do it, and I never questioned why. But well, they said black cats crossing your path are bad luck.
Right.
Well, and this one
Not
says
in
that,
general, just crossing your path when
Right.
you're going somewhere.
and this one says it's bad luck if a cat follows you home, which is interesting.
Mm. That's how I got my first black cat.
But it says it's good luck if a black cat enters the house through the front door.
Oh, yeah.
What about a calico?
It's really bad luck if a black cat licks his fur the wrong way.
Oh no! Backwards? How are they supposed to
guess.
clean themselves?
They usually lick their fur the right way.
Right. I've never.
So I don't know. I think it's probably.
That's also a sign of illness.
I was going to say, I think it's a
probably.
sign of some weird kind of mania. It's good luck to pull a black cat's tail. I would disagree with
No.
that. I think the cat would disagree.
I wouldn't do that.
I gently tug.
It's bad. It's bad luck to kill a cat. So tell that to all the people boiling cats alive.
'em.
And it says that the cat will haunt you if you kill it. There's you've heard the cats can steal a baby's breath thing, right?
Definitely.
That migrated into like later. I mean, I had people tell me that not in the way of like the cat will metaphysically steal the baby's breath, but the cat will like sit on your child's face in the crib. So it's like
Which
it's
is
the exact
legit.
same thing.
Yes.
It's just, like kind of
and some of them
changed.
are kind of heavy.
Yeah,
and
I did
so-
hear that. And people said, well, the modern interpretation is babies have milk, they're warm, and they want to lay on them
Yeah.
and lick their face.
Cats are
and be close
very
to them.
self-centered.
Yeah, I mean, they're just like, oh, this is a warm spot with something that tastes good. I'll just lay on their
and it's warm. So I'm
lay on
just-
their
I
head.
see it on your face.
right.
Well, it makes sense.
Oh, it totally does. There was a to cure a sty, you rub the tail of a black cat across your eye,
No,
which I was like, that would kill me.
yeah, you're so
Literally,
allergic.
my eye would be like
It would turn-
puffy and green or some shit. And so there's this last one that they said that was cats will gather around a house where a body is lying in state. And that one got my attention.
Yeah. That's not surprising.
This
actually.
last one is from a Scottish belief that there's a certain type of fairy that would go in the form of a black cat with a white spot on its chest. And it's called a cat's, it's spelled Sidhe, but it's pronounced a cat she.
Mhm.
And it would try to steal the souls of the dead from their bodies before they could reach the gods, and by walking over the body before it could be buried. So people would kind of be on the lookout, and that was why they said cats would gather around a place like that.
They just really want to eat the dead.
I know, right? I swear to God,
They will
I
eat
texted
you.
you guys yesterday that my fucking dog started licking, I had ant bites on my ankle from 4th of July, and my dog came up and was like licking my ant bites, which had been really irritated and like scabbing and stuff. And I was like, oh, she's licking my what? Holy fuck, she fucking bit my ankle off. Like my dog just tried to like kill me and eat me.
Cece would eat me.
I know.
I have no
my
doubt.
dog.
No
yes,
doubt.
I have no doubt.
absolutely
If I
kill
didn't
me
give her
and eat me.
temptations and no one came over,
She's like, you are my temptation.
she would eat me.
So this last one, maybe one of the beliefs relates to, there's an old Scots-Irish custom that became an Appalachian custom that is the sitting up with the dead.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really cool site that I don't think I found before I wrote the story up that's called Unmasked History that did a really long article on this. But in Ireland and Scotland, we all know it's called a wake, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So urban legend was that the wakes started happening because there was this illness going around that made living people appear to be dead. And then families would sit and watch for at least 24 hours to make sure that the person was actually dead before, you've heard the song Finnegan's Wake, right? Like that's the whole story about the guy waking back up after everybody thought he was dead.
Did they say what illness caused, like what specific illness caused people?
Not in this. And it's also, I don't think it's true.
Well, I
Oh.
mean, it's common though that people they didn't have a good way to determine death.
No, and it could
So
absolutely be
those
true that
mirrors
people would,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And they couldn't hear.
people would think that someone had died and they may not have been dead. But I
It's
don't
a good
think
idea not to just directly bury
but
somebody.
I don't think it was that common, and it didn't sound like
No.
there was any record of an illness going through the area that in mass made people kind of appear dead when they weren't. You know what I mean? So I think it probably came from some different real things.
Well, like
and
some
then
people
got
really-
turned into a story.
really were buried alive, and so
Mhm.
then there was the whole put the bells in the church and
Oh my god,
in
that's
the
creepy.
graves, and
Right.
Yeah, the bells
then there was
on
a
the
whole
graves.
person that created like a coffin that you could live in underground with air and
That's
and that was in the
disturbing.
1800s.
Aaron Martinis.
Martinis,
Die happy.
because it did happen sometimes. So yeah,
It did. It did.
it was
Absolutely
one of those things
happen
like
sometimes.
you want to be sure.
The first time I heard about those bells that you could ring from your coffin, that freaked me the fuck. I think it was like in the movie The Nun, though. I think that's what freaked me out. So in truth, though, where the wake really came from was from a very old, even older than that, Celtic
Yeah,
tradition.
Celtic.
It was based on the belief that evil spirits would steal the dead.
Mm.
So they were placed under a table with a plate of salt on their chest to stop the corpse from rising up. And the Catholic Church then tried to stop this as a pagan ritual because they didn't agree with it, because it usually would devolve into a drunken party.
Yes, that's my people.
You know, because everybody's there commiserating with one another, and everybody's like pouring one out for the person who's gone.
Like all the Catholics I know can totally hold
fucking shit.
their own liquor, so I don't understand the complaint there.
But you know, the church did like the church so often did, and how we got most of our Christian holidays and things like that now is they ended up with a can't beat them, you join them, and so they agreed. They had people agree as long as you pray during a wake, it's okay. Like you can do a wake, but you got to pray during it, so we know that you're talking to Jesus. So I wasn't familiar though, particularly with the Appalachian custom of sitting up with the dead, of what's called sitting up with the dead. So here's, according to this unmasked history, here's how the death would typically go. And this is in like small hill and mountain towns across the South. The person would die. The church bell tolls. Maybe it tolls the number of years that the person was alive. Everybody immediately knows what's happening, stops what they're doing, drops what they're doing, goes to the house because they know who's been sick and they know probably who has died. And they go to the house of the family. Women bring food immediately. Men immediately go out and dig a grave.
And build a coffin.
And the carpenter measures the body and builds a pine coffin. So this is before embalming is a thing. I mean, even though they did embalming in Egypt, we all know embalming, but it wasn't a thing like in the U.S. until the Civil War-ish. And even then, it wasn't widely picked up through Appalachia for a long time. There was a book called Death and Dying in Central Appalachia by James Chrisman in 1994. He said that a funeral director who opened his business in 1918 had only 10% of his clients choose to embalm in his early years in business.
It was like the premium package.
It was. The poor couldn't afford it. And other people didn't like it.
I was going to say it probably didn't take out till the 30s or 40s in Appalachia.
Because in a lot of people, it's unnatural, right? You're putting these toxins into a body, and it just seems
it's like
wrong.
desecrating.
Well,
body. It seemed very wrong.
Dust to dust.
Yeah.
So have your body go into the
exactly.
ground.
You should just. But then why put coffins? I don't want a coffin.
Well, it's wood.
Just saying.
Back then,
I guess it was. It wasn't like pressure treated or varnished or anything.
With satin and
just
stuff.
Kinda,
Right.
With a vault around it now.
No shit. All the stuff. I mean, dying is expensive now.
Yes.
I don't want it to be. And they've made laws for a long time that like you couldn't be buried unless you were in some, and I was just like, I want
groundwater issues that we do need to think
fungus
about.
Bag. I know I've said it before, but y'all get me a fungus bag.
Cremate me, please.
Yes.
You heard it here.
So at the time,
My living will.
embalming was not a thing at the time. So instead, the body's laid out in the home on what they called a laying out board or a cooling board. And this would be usually like a door or a table or sometimes an ironing board or something. But sometimes it was like families had a family laying out board, and you would put it on, workhorses and, lay it out, or across a couple chairs and lay it out in the middle of the living room.
Sawhorses.
Sawhorses, not workhorses.
No, when you said it, I was like, I know what you're saying, but I don't think you said
No, they would stretch it between two horses and they would yoke them together and they would just parade around town.
Sounds about right.
So they would lay it on two chairs or sawhorses. And they would stretch the body out so it was straight, which was not always an easy thing. So that sometimes they would have to soak parts of the body.
I'm sure.
They would have to break bones sometimes. They would have to soak in warm water. We know why. And then they sometimes would tie it to the board to keep it flat, arms across chest. They would put a handkerchief under the chin because as the body stiffens, the people in the room would hear like cracks and creaks because the bones would break and stiffen during the laying out.
Decomposing.
Rigor mortis would set in. And so the body would literally move while it was being laid out. So they had to tie it down because it would sit up if it wasn't tied. And they had to put a kerchief around because its mouth would open.
Can you imagine like somebody in your family dying and then you just leaving them there in the living room and going upstairs and going to bed?
No.
The
people stayed up. Really.
Yeah. Someone was always up.
Well, that's why, were they guard?
But I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's
couldn't
bizarre.
sleep. Yeah. It's just bizarre.
But they'd put,
bizarre.
coins on the eyes, which is, we know that's an ancient tradition from a bunch of different cultures.
But also, the eyes are probably open.
Yes.
It's hard to get them closed until you sew them.
And women knew that if you dissolved aspirin and soda water and put those cloths on the face, it would prevent darkening of the skin early so that it wouldn't be as unpleasant. The body would be blessed because of the Catholic Church. The body would be prayed over. And then there would be like a quilt that would be covered with like flowers and herbs and stuff, and they would mask the smell of the body,
The decay.
or the gas that it might release, whatever, to put there. So, and then everybody sits there, and they would keep vigil until the body's taken to the church the next day to be put into the coffin for burial. So this brings us to the story that kind of puts these two parts of this together. It's from Catherine Tucker Wyndham. It's from 13 Mississippi Ghosts and Jeffrey, and it's called The Black Cat, That Black Cat. And so this is 100% her story. Super cool. Panola County, Mississippi is where it happens. There's a man named George Mathis who dies, and nobody is sad that he's died. Some folks said the preacher sat up all night trying to think of something good to say about George Mathis at the funeral service.
You don't want to be that person.
No, you don't want to be that person.
Don't be George.
Yeah, her quote was, "At the graveyard while the dirt was still being shoveled over the coffin, one of George Mathis' neighbors said louder than he intended to, 'That's sure the man who's going as straight to hell as a martin to its gourd.'" And everybody heard him say it, and it sort of shocked them. But then a couple people started saying amen. So he was a mean guy. He'd always been a mean guy. He was a hard worker, but he didn't believe in relationships. He didn't believe in anything else. So there was never anybody who could work hard enough to satisfy him. So folks he hired to work his fields, he had impossible expectations that they would have to meet. And when they couldn't do it, he would whip them, or he would fire them, or, rake them over the coals some way or other. So he had tenant farmers. And if they didn't produce like he thought, then he would just turn them out, and he wouldn't give them warning. He would just throw their shit out into the road. And if they had children or families, or it's freezing or pouring outside, he did not care. So folks said he treated his own family no better than that either. So one of George Mathis' tenants at one time was a black man, and everybody called him Bo Man. He was originally from Louisiana, and he had been a tenant for this guy for longer than anybody else ever had, which was no small thing because he was so horrible to people that he hadn't done anything to get kicked out in that amount of time was unbelievable. But one day he's clearing ground, and Bo Man hurts his back. And George Mathis sees that he's going to be out of commission for a while, and he says, "Go on, get off my property then." So Bowman stood up and told George Mathis, like, I've been on this land working well for you all this time. You can't, my wife is sick, my back is injured, I don't have anywhere else to go, and you can't give me any grace. And George Mathis just doesn't care. And he yells at him. He says, "Get off my land." He picks up a limb that has fallen to swing at him. And Bowman sidesteps through the door and shuts the door to the house. And George Mathis gets madder and madder, and he beats on the door, and he beats on the house with both hands and on the shutters, screaming to get off his property. And finally, from inside the house, Bowman says, "I'll leave, but you'll wish you hadn't run me off, because I'm going to put a spell on this place and on you so that nobody will ever forget this day." So Mathis is so mad, he says he's going to burn the house to the ground with Bowman inside. But eventually he leaves, and the man gets out of the house, and he goes somewhere else. And nobody knows where he goes. But weird things start to happen at George Mathis' place. For one thing, he dies.
Oh, yeah.
George Mathis dies, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense why. He wasn't sick, and it kind of looked like maybe he had choked to death. Somebody started a story that there was a conjure ball found under his front steps. And somebody else said that there was a little mud doll by the path in the back of the house, sort of like a stick doll that maybe sort of looked a little bit like Mathis with a mean mouth and mean eyes. And there was a cotton string tied around its neck. But George being dead, all those things that I mentioned in the How People Die in Appalachia, all that stuff kind of kicks off. So the church bells ring, the town gets together, even though nobody liked him. It's what you do. And it's how you dispose of a body. So they do all those things. They put his Sunday clothes on, they put him on the board, they lay him out in his house. And the sawhorses should have been covered up, they said, but nobody covered his. Like normally you put a black cloth to make it look a little bit more presentable. Nobody really cared. It was George Mathis.
Right.
But they did feel like somebody had to stay and sit up with the corpse. So the neighbors set up with them, and it's quiet and awkward because nobody's really sad. It's not like at wakes and stuff where everybody's pouring one out, where everybody's, celebrating a life. Everybody's just kind of crickets because they're just like, okay, is it dawn yet? Can we go? Because nobody really cared. all of a sudden this awful racket kicks up outside. Like every dog in the country is howling. And they howl, and then they come loping out of the woods from every direction, every which way toward the house. And every man at the house is taking turns kind of running out in the yard and trying to shoo these dogs away. But they don't seem scared of anybody. They can run at them with the stick. They can yell at them, and they just kind of keep on going. And the howling keeps up, and they all at once go quiet. And they just start to go in a circle, tail to tail, all the way around the house, over and over. And after several laps, they just all of a sudden, like they one brain, hive mind, chase off into the woods together without making another noise. So everybody goes back inside, and nobody talks about it because they don't know what to say. And a couple people are like yawning. It's like the middle of the night now, and everybody starts to try and get settled. And then this big black cat walks into the room, and it walks right up to the coffin, and it starts circling around and around, and it starts caterwauling, like that noise that cats make that is unmistakable from any other noise, and it always seems to happen in the middle of the night. A woman kind of gets up from her seat and tries to shoo him away, but he pays no attention to her, and he just keeps on walking and walking around the sawhorses around the coffin, taking his time. And every time he walks around, it yells a little bit louder. And two men go up to scare it, and one sticks his leg out like he's going to kick the cat, and then the cat just disappears into thin air, and the man's foot just swings at nothing. And the doors and windows are all shut, so this cat couldn't have just disappeared, but all of a sudden he's back again, and he's circling the coffin, and he starts howling again, and it does it all night long for the whole rest of the laying out. This cat now and again just kind of stops to rub up against the sawhorses, but it sits and screams all night circling this coffin. And then after the funeral service, it goes through the night, and then, they bury him and the cat leaves. But after the funeral service, George Mathis' son, Sid, and a free black man that they called Uncle Jake, they both heard George's voice calling for Sid louder and louder since they came back from burying him in the graveyard. It's like they left and they went back to the homestead, and they could just hear him calling for his son. Nobody else could hear it, but it never let up for Sid, and eventually he moved from that farmstead. And his cousin moved into the farmstead, and his cousin Ben started noticing weird things.
So George Mathis had a son?
Apparently.
Oh, okay. That was his son, not okay.
And Ben noticed that every afternoon around dusk, all the dogs on the farm would bristle up and snarl at something that nobody else could see, and they would circle around the house and run across the fields. Then they would come back later and act like nothing had happened, or like they were in a trance. And then starting the night after George Mathis died, folks in the house would hear like knockings and scratchings at the doors, like somebody was having a frantic fit to get in. But when they opened the door, there's never anybody or anything there. And there were nights when everybody who's asleep in the house would just jolt awake because it sounded like there were big oak barrels just rumbling and rolling down all the hallways and crashing into the walls. Bam, 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 over and over again. But then they would open the doors into the hallway and there's nothing there. So Catherine Tucker Wyndham said there were a few times that men would go out after they hear these barrel noises, and they would meet this strange black cat sauntering down the hall of the house. And they said the cat would stare at them with evil eyes, and Ben and his family finally just left the house. And tenant after tenant tried to rent it and left. Nobody could deal with whatever had gone on. And eventually the house just rotted away, turned into a pile of timbers. There was just a broken chimney left where it used to be. And occasionally people say that they saw a black cat stalking out of the crumbling chimney of the house. And Catherine Tucker Wyndham said they said the cat has a self-satisfied smirk, and that he strolls around the ruined house with a proud air like he owns the property.
Oh, man.
So that is Catherine Tucker Wyndham's story, That Black Cat.
That black cat.
Wow.
Death. Cats and death.
Cats and death.
Joy. Let's take a break.
Thank you. I enjoyed that.
Do you want more Strange South every week? We can help. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can join our Facebook fan group, Fans of the Strange South Podcast, to keep the chat going with our whole creepy community. Do you have a story idea for us, or a story of your own to share? Email us at stories@thestrangesouth.com. Plus, if you join our Patreon, you not only help support the podcast, you get an exclusive bonus episode for every show and a discount on merch. You can find links to all of these things on our website, thestrangesouth.com, along with photos, links, and show notes from every episode, Strange South t-shirts, mugs, and other goodies. See you there.
Patrice said all week, my story's going to be really short. My story's going to be really short. And then I came in, she's like, my story's 10 pages long.
What?
Well, I thought it would, I thought it was just going to be a quick little fun little information piece. And then I dug deeper and found
It's
more.
our mistake. Every time we make this mistake, we always dig so deep.
And
I don't know. That's what investigative journalism is, people.
And I am going to give you some, podcasts that do a much better job than I'm fixing to do about going into this. But this is just a little tidbit. You know how we do. We're just a little tidbit.
You know how we do. You know why you're here.
You know why you're here. We love you for it.
Mm-hmm. We really do.
My sources are Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast.
I know that one.
Sources are cocaine.
Yes.
Cocaine and Rhinestones.
Rolling Stones magazine, Wikipedia.
I know that one too.
And a book that I'm not going to tell you about because I want the reveal to be a surprise.
Oh, the reveal. I love reveals.
All right. So it was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day. I was out chopping cotton and my brother was baling hay.
Box fan Chad would die right now.
And at dinner time, we stopped and walked back to the house to eat.
Courtney's exploding.
Oh my God.
And Mama hollered out the back door, y'all, remember to wipe your feet. And then she said, I got some news this morning from Choctaw Ridge. Today, Billie Joe McAllister jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge.
I said Tallahassee. See, I don't belong here.
I got chills. Oh my gosh. I know this one.
In 1967, a Southern Gothic, I'm going to say Southern Georgia, but Southern Gothic tale of an ode to Billie Joe by Bobbie Gentry.
Not Billy Joel.
Not
Billie Joe.
Billie Joe. Billie Joe. No old. By Bobbie Gentry went to number 1, knocking the Beatles out from the first place.
Killer.
Bobbie Lee Gentry, who was born Roberta Lee Streeter in July 27th, 1942. So she's around my parents' age.
My dad was born in 44.
A little bit older, but not by much. She was born to Ruby Lee, which is such a Southern name. Ruby
That's
Lee.
Chad's mom's name, Ruby.
And Robert Harrison Streeter. And they divorced, however, like a year after she was born. And the mother, Ruby Lee, moved to California. And so Bobbie ended up being raised by her paternal grandparents at a farm in Choctaw County, Mississippi. She grew up without electricity or plumbing.
Plumbing.
She,
my mom. Well, she had electricity, but
she grew up without either of those two, which, I mean, it's not unheard of in the poor South and to not have that during the 1940s and such. And it was just like people were just coming out, like my grandparents who were born in the 20s and 30s definitely had outhouses and had to like bring their water in from the pump and stuff. So they didn't have that either. But 40s, more and more electricity and plumbing.
Well, for one, they hadn't flooded all the valleys yet until the 30s for the TVA.
Right.
And the dams.
Ooh, listen to you.
Yeah. There we go.
History.
That's how we got power in the South.
Right. Absolutely. Bobbie's grandmother traded one of the family dairy cows for a neighbor's piano when she was 7 years old, and Bobbie started composing her first song, which was My Dog Sergeant is a Good Dog. Is that not like the best name for a country song by a child? So all of this, when she actually moved she left the farm when she's, I guess, during school age, a little bit later on. But she taught herself how to play guitar and play the banjo. And she was living with her dad in Greenwood, Mississippi at this time. And this is all before the age of 13. So all of this happened. Like she got a piano. She learned how to play guitar. She learned how to play the banjo between 7 and 13. if you've ever spent any time in the South, grew up in the South, you know that we have some highly eclectic, unique, creative, extremely creative people that come from the South. And it is because there is nothing to fucking do down here. I mean,
Can't get distracted.
you can't, I mean, if you look for those escapisms outside of the work that had to be done, and the work was pretty grueling. And so your mind got to wander and got to dream up these better lives and things. And so this is kind of what I've imagined, like of these people like Jim Henson, you know, with the Muppets and growing up in the Delta, and also Bobbie Gentry. She's in the Delta. So she, as a preteen adolescent, you know, she was in Greenwood, Mississippi, and was very musically inclined. And then around 13 or so, she moved to Palm Springs, California, which is where her mother moved to. Her dad's
That's different.
Wow.
So it was
like, wow.
Is a different, right, totally different planet. So while she was there with her mother, Ruby Lee, they started to perform as a duo, and they were called like Ruby and Bobbie Mayers, because that was her stepfather's last name. And so they sang and performed on the stage. And Bobbie saw a movie called Ruby Gentry. First of all, like Ruby's her mom's name. And this movie is 1952 movie that she saw was about this woman, Ruby, who was this poor but beautiful girl from the backwoods who ended up marrying the town like tycoon. So just remember these details about Ruby.
Okay.
She was because her mom's name was Ruby, and because she could really relate to this story about, this girl being from the backwoods, she decided to take Gentry as her last name. And that's why we know her now as Bobbie Gentry instead of Roberta Streeter. She's out there. She went to high school. She graduated from high school. She enrolled in UCLA as a philosophy major. She also took some art classes. She did clerical jobs. She performed at nights at, different clubs, country clubs. She even appeared in a review at a nightclub in Las Vegas where she met Bob Hope, who encouraged her to keep performing. And again, she's like college age, so early 20s at this time. Bobbie then transferred to the Los Angeles Conservatory of Music, and she took classes on composition, music theory, and arranging. And in 1966, she was asked to sit in on a recording session to play guitar with this guy. And she's never done any recording before. So she talked to him and said, he asked hey, could you play guitar, sit in and play guitar? And she's like, sure. But, since you have a connection, maybe you can help me out. So it's like tit for tat kind of thing. And so she made some recordings, like demos, because she wasn't really wanting to be the performer as much. She really wanted to just write songs and have other people perform. So she did all of these demo tapes of her songs, thinking that somebody will pick up the songs and sing it and make it a hit. And she just will be credited with the songwriter. So she took these demos to Capitol. And the first demo that she had is called Mississippi Delta. And it's got a very unique Southern sound. It's not exactly country. It's not exactly rock. It's not exactly pop sound to it. And it was different than a lot of things that were being played at the time. But the second song that she had accompanying this was her side B, and it was just her and her guitar. And this was the Ode to Billie Joe.
It was the very first demo that she put out.
It was the very first
side B.
It was a
Holy
side B,
shit.
and it was just her and her guitar. They really liked Mississippi Delta and well, this is going to be the first song that we're going to release. But then they heard the side B, and they were like, oh no, this is it. This is epic. However, they felt like it needed something more. So they took the original demo. They didn't have her re-record it. They took the demo and they placed strings on it. They hired somebody called Jimmy Haskell, who did strings, did music for some of the films at the day, and also worked with maybe Ricky Nelson or some of the music, but was very familiar with adding the strings to music and adding strings to film. So he approached the Ode to Billie Joe as a film. And if you listen to it, that's all they did is they added strings to it. He had like
Holy shit.
one of the people pluck the cello, so it had a bass to it. And if you listen to the Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast, he goes into so much of the musical part of it, and he'll play the music back and like say, like, listen to this, and you can hear like when he added the strings to it, that when the climax of the thing comes, it goes up, the strings like crescendo or whatever, or they like pitch high, and when they throw the thing over the bridge, you can hear it go ooh, like it would. He would do in a film. It's a very interesting album. I was so like enthralled with like all of the aspects of this story. Jimmy Haskell did the strings, and it was magic. It was just like the right time, right place, everything. So by June of that same year, she signed with Capitol Records, and the single that is now side A, the legend or the ode, I don't know what to say. I keep on wanting to say Legend of Billie Jean. That's not it. It's the ode
to Billie Joe.
Billie Joe was released in July of 1967. So a year later, first single was released, knocked the Beatles out of the charts.
I didn't know that.
They took, because it was so successful, the producers quickly assembled the rest of the album from the 12 demos that she recorded and completed the overdubs, meaning they didn't have her re-record them. They just put like stuff on top of them and then released it. Capitol pre-ordered 50,000 copies at that time of her record, which was the largest pressing of a debut album in the label's prior history. And the Beatles song that she knocked out of the top number one was All You Need Is Love.
I was going to say Let It Be, but okay, close enough.
What year was that?
In 1967.
Yeah.
So Bobbie won 3 Grammys for that album or song. And then Haskell, who did a fantastic job with the strings, who should fully get credit, won also a Grammy for it. She won Best New Artist, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and she was also named the Academy of Country Music's Most Promised Female Vocalist. So it crossed all different music lines here. Her performance on screen and off got the interest of the head of the BBC, and in the next year, in 1968, invited her to host a variety show on the BBC too. And
that seems random that it was the BBC.
Right. But they were, I guess, because of the Beatles coming over to America and all of that's
you
happening.
Took something of
We're
ours.
going to take
We're
your
gonna
talent.
Take something of yours.
So this made her, when they invited her, plus she was gorgeous. She's tall. She, long legs. Because of the way that the industry is today, they gave her 27, 24, 27 like measurements in a news article about her. Instead of talking about her music, they were talking about like what she looked like. So
a Barbie.
She was basically a Barbie. But when she went over there, she was the first female songwriter that they hired as a host to host a series on the network. And she also, with help with the producer Stanley Dorfman, made 6 half-hour episodes that aired later that year. And Dorfman has said, like, after the few episodes that she did, she pretty much co-directed the show because she had such great ideas. But the BBC wouldn't let you do that. So, they wouldn't let you have an artist credited also as director or producer. So the credit went to a man. So
she is gorgeous.
Yeah. In the next 3, and she's got this smoky voice. You've heard the songs.
I had no idea what she looked like. I've never looked her up.
Yeah. I haven't really looked. Yeah. I never knew what she looked like.
I mean, I know the song very well, but I didn't know.
Right. So over the next 3 years, so when this came out, she was 25 years old. Over the next 3 years, she produced 6 albums.
Oh, wow.
And in 1970, her 6th album called Fancy was produced.
Like the Reba?
Was produced.
She's like, hold on.
Sorry.
It was produced in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Muscle
fuck
Shoals.
It. Everybody knows.
Well, listen, I don't know enough about country music to not crow about it when I know something.
didn't know
my
it was produced
reveal.
in Muscle Shoals.
Is that your reveal?
That was my reveal. That's okay.
Produced in Muscle Shoals.
I'm so sorry.
No,
it was
no.
Reba.
It was Reba. So in 1970, she produced her soon-to-be Reba album, Fancy, in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
I didn't know that was 1970. I thought that Reba might have done a remake then, because that's much older than I thought.
Fancy became like her second most popular song, and next to Ode to Billie Joe. And one thing that she did say about Fancy in an article, she said, "It is my strongest statement for women's lib. If you really listen to it, I agree wholeheartedly with that movement and all of the serious issues that it stands for: equality, equal pay, daycare centers, and abortion rights."
Dang, girl.
In 1970.
1970.
She wrote that
Mm-hmm.
and produced it.
She's a fucking hero.
Did she write and produce it?
I don't know if she... I would assume that she would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
but she definitely wrote it.
She wrote it.
Yeah, that was her song. In 1976, the featured film Ode to Billie Joe was based on Gentry's hit song, and it starred Robbie Benson and Glennis O'Connor. And if you listen to the whole song, and you may want to stop now if you've never heard the Ode to Billie Joe and go read the lyrics, because it is very much an open-ended story, and it's what drove people crazy, because they want to know what it is that Billie Joe threw off the ridge before he committed suicide. And this is very much...
I think I know.
About,
I've always had an idea.
Well, there's always been theories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the big thing. It's like, what was thrown off, and why did Billie Joe McAllister jump off the Tallahatchie Bridge? It's such a compelling story. So in the movie, the mystery of the title character suicide was revealed as part of the like a love thing, because Bobby Lee Hartley, who was the main character there, had a drunken homosexual experience, and that's why he committed suicide. And that was the movie's interpretation. The movie actually enjoyed a little bit of success. It brought in like $27 million.
Wow. I don't know this movie either. I'm learning so much about this song.
There's many interpretations because, again, she left the song open-ended. The song itself describes a family having dinner one night and discussing the suicide of Billie Joe McAllister, which had occurred earlier that day, that summer.
Mm-hmm.
The mother explains how the local preacher claimed that he saw Billie Joe and his girlfriend, who very much looked like the daughter or the narrator, the person singing the song, throwing an object off the bridge. In interviews with Bobbie Gentry, she's like, y'all are missing, because everybody's like, wants to know, like, why did he commit suicide? What was thrown over the bridge? Those are the two big mysteries. And she's like, y'all are missing the point of the song completely. She's like, the song examines like our indifferences and our desensitization. I can't even say that word.
Desensitization.
Thank you. And our just callous attitudes towards tragedies, which still are very prevalent, if not even more so today with social media.
They are more prevalent.
And even with this podcast, is talking about like horrible things and then moving on, instead of really examining, like doing the deep dive and probably therapy work that needs to be done with a lot of this, and how we just kind of talk about it as gossip. But again, I feel like that's such a human thing to do that I don't think we're ever really truly going to stop that human interest, that human rubbernecking of other people's tragedies. So that was the whole introspection and discussion was really what Bobbie Gentry was hoping to achieve with the song. She said, make of it what you will. You keep asking questions, but you're missing the point. And one of the commentators from an article that I was reading about this song, the Ode to Billie Joe, which was published in Spin Diddy, which is a music blog, and it's called The Story Behind the Song of Ode to Billie Joe by Bobbie Gentry. And it said that a commenter said the song came out as like a suicidal or the suicide stemmed from an illegitimate child, and they they were saying, like, a lot of people speculated that the object thrown into the river was a newborn or possibly stillborn child. And because they had lived in the area and because this was immediately what most people thought of, it caused parents to berate teens more than they already were and like go around like telling people not to have sex. So this would not be a thing.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, which we know that doesn't work.
I'm like looking at the lyrics and I'm like, where did you get that?
Okay.
That's what I thought it was. I didn't think they killed a baby. I think the baby was
Stillborn.
dead.
Yeah.
Or made it.
Right.
Like they didn't want it.
Right. Exactly.
Somehow got rid of it.
Another commentator along the lines of the movie's interpretation of it said that Billie Joe was spelled Billie, so Joe. So it was spelled like a girl's name, like Billiejo at first when she wrote it. And so they hinted at a female version of that perspective, saying that the movie's reason of the spelling of Billie Joe seemed to point at the love that dares to speak, not to speak its name, as it was called back then, which was certainly a strong theme in that era. And, you know, we have Southern playwrights like Tennessee Williams that, you know, dwelt both directly and indirectly with the theme of homosexuality. Bobbie Gentry admits that the story is fictionalized, and she, on one instance, it said that she did explain that she was inspired by the 1956 murder of Emmett Till.
Wow.
That's different, though.
Which is totally different. She said she was inspired by, not necessarily that it reflects it.
Definitely, yeah.
Which I couldn't find the...
But if she's saying that the point of it is people's indifference, then that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Because the mama said, you're going to see him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but listen
No
to this. So
indifference.
this is a connection to Emmett Till that somebody posted. So Bobbie Gentry was born almost to the day a year before Emmett Till. And so Bobbie Gentry was 13 and living in Greenwood, Mississippi when Emmett Till visited Money, Mississippi from Chicago. And Money, Mississippi was 10 miles north of Greenwood.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Which is where Bobbie was living. So going down Money Road from Money to Greenwood, one would follow the curves of the Little Tallahatchie River. And in Greenwood, there was a theater called the Rebel Theater that seated like 600 people. And it would be a big draw in that area for entertainment. And to go down to Greenwood to see that is not out of the question. So this is all speculation, right? So August 21st, 1955, Emmett Till went to Money, Mississippi, and there were 7 days from that until his death in August 28th. So Bobbie Gentry mentioned that Billie Joe put a frog down her back at the picture show. There was no movie house in Money, like I said, but the closest one was Greenville. So as a resident of Chicago, it is plausible that 14-year-old Emmett may have gone down to the movie show in Greenwood and made friends, possibly with a 13-year-old Roberta Lee Streeter. Roberta very much likely could have met. It's in, you know, it's likely, or it could be likely.
Possible,
it's possible.
for sure.
Yeah, that they may have like met and, you know, believed that maybe she may have felt like she was partly guilty for his death that came about. And if not like directly met him, being in the area, in the community, and hearing and seeing all the things, that it was very much probably in her forethought. So it's plausible that she, you know, if she was friendly with Emmett, she could have, you know, wrote that as part of the song of something being thrown off the bridge, which we all know that Emmett Till was thrown from the Tallahatchie Bridge in Money, Mississippi, with a cotton gin blade attached to him to weigh him down in the water. And, you know, Bobbie Gentry sings about her chopping cotton in her song. So there is speculation. There is a lot of crossover there. She's never, I mean, it says that she did confirm that it was inspired, but I cannot find that exact quote, and I don't know exactly where that came from.
But it doesn't mean she's
Like, it doesn't have
mixing
to
it
be
together.
literal.
Like
Yeah.
her feelings
Right.
are, I feel responsible, and she could intermingle it with like these teenagers who have done something bad.
Yes, because when
and-
you're that young,
because the
you
people
feel
who killed
everything.
him were adult males,
Right. But you, as a teenager,
not a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
And-
but if
and
she
Billie
thought she was
yes.
responsible, it was
Right.
because she was a white woman who talked
Right.
to him.
It was intermingled,
Like,
is what I
yeah.
mean. The guilt,
right. Exactly.
not literal.
Yeah.
Right. It's not literal. Exactly. One of the things that she did say is that the thing being thrown off the bridge is a MacGuffin.
What does that mean?
So a MacGuffin is basically like it's used in literature to further a story and to add mystery. It is a
So
thing.
it's not meant to be a specific.
It's not
thing.
meant for you to know ever what it is. It's like the suitcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, right. What's in it?
That's a very, very good.
It is, yeah,
Okay, that's a good example.
right. But it shows how powerful this song is and
Mhm.
how well written
Yeah.
and just all consuming it is. And as soon as it started playing, I mean, no wonder it kicked the Beatles off. It's like everybody was like going, what is going on?
It's funny because when you were reading the lyrics, like I didn't know them. Like I know this song because I know the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she repeats that every stanza. You know, I mean,
Right.
it's repeated through this. So I know it that well, but I don't know it well enough to know the words. So I went back and read the lyrics while you started to talk about it because I was like, okay, I have to
Mm-hmm.
I have to know more.
Right.
But it's a story. It is. It's a short
I
story.
only know it because of Chad.
It
I
is
mean,
a-
he was like he's probably knows.
I don't know. I don't know it because of chat. I don't know why
I
I
do.
know it. I don't know if it was in a movie soundtrack. I don't know because I didn't listen to country.
But I played
It's
I
not country
intentionally-
though.
Well, but it sounds like it kind of was like in the. It wasn't like I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was.
It sounds to me like the
It's Southern-
60s,
it's
like
Southern-
war rock.
It's Southern music is what it is. It's a cross between Southern rock, country,
Mhm.
Well, then it has
maybe
the
country for the
strings.
storytelling.
The
Mhm.
story is
It's a little bit of psychedelic, a little bit of blues, a little bit of jazz.
Because it is. It's like it's a story. It's a really good story.
It's a really good story.
And it doesn't need more. It's open ended in all the places that it should be, and like it's real smart. It's real smart.
She is a very smart woman. So, Bobbie Gentry's work, her ode to Billie Joe, was originally handwritten in a draft for the song. You know, it was just written down, and she did the demo. But the demo was the thing that got released. Right? It is now part of a collection held by the University of Mississippi that she donated to the Faulkner Room in 1973. And it sits right next to Faulkner
yeah.
Wow.
and Tennessee Williams.
That's
so
fucking cool.
that's like the level of literature that they feel like this song represents.
That's
like
amazing.
it's higher art. The original draft version of the song, a girl named Sally Jane Elson is part of the story, and it may hold the key to why Billie Joe jumped from the bridge. The original Tallahatchie Bridge collapsed in June of 1972 after being set on fire by vandals, but it was later
Lord.
rebuilt. Many people, obviously, like you write a song about a thing at a place, and many people are drawn to the thing at the place. So many people were drawn to the bridge after the song was released. And the county enacted like a $100 fine for anyone jumping off the bridge. However, the bridge is only about 20 feet above the river. So
Not
you pretty
90
much
like your last bridge.
right. So, you know, if you just got wet, basically,
Yeah.
if you jumped off the bridge there at the Tallahatchie River. The last appearance, though, like she had like a pretty prolific, 6 albums. She hosted a bunch of shows. You know, she did Vegas. She did like all the things. It was very popular. And I didn't like include, like, seriously, listen to the Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast. It's very interesting. It's pretty well done. So the last time Bobbie Gentry appeared in public is when she attended the Academy of Country Music Awards in April 30th, 1982. She was 39 years old. In 1983, the next year, she canceled a show for the first time ever. She's never done that, and she has not been around the music industry since. She has not recorded, performed, or been interviewed. She is still alive.
She's
Holy
just
shit.
gone off the radar.
Mhm. She's gone off the radar. In May 14th, 2012, the BBC Radio 2 broadcast a documentary titled Whatever Happened to Bobbie Gentry, which was presented by country music artist Rosanna Cash. She influenced so many people, both in country and rock and pop. it's just really, it's amazing. Like for somebody, like I knew the song, I didn't really know about her, but reading up on her and how wide the influence of like her songwriting and her sound went to influence other people. It blew my mind. It's like I even stopped and made my husband like listen to some of the podcast. I was like, because it even influenced some of the music that he listens to. So in September of 2018, an 8-disc box set titled "The Girl from Chickasaw County: The Complete Capitol Masters" was released. And February of 2019, Mercury Records released Bobbie Gentry's "The Delta Suite Revisited," which is a reimagining of Bobbie Gentry's forgotten masterpieces. Going back to 2016, a news report stated that Gentry lives in a gated community near Memphis, Tennessee. But according to another, Gentry lives in a gated community in Los Angeles. She could probably live in both.
Yeah.
She could probably live both in Memphis and in Los Angeles. And the whole thing, Reba redid her song, made it extremely famous. The song very much reminds me of the television where she got her name from, because it's all about a girl who basically was prostituted by her mother and then married somebody rich, and that rich person died, and then she exacted her revenge on everybody that, called her white trash, which, I think
it's a great song.
It
Both
is,
of these are.
Oh my gosh. It was
how
so
have I not
empowering.
both of them? I can't.
Right? She was such and she, and she was a woman who went into a very male dominated, where men got credit for the things that she did, but she kept pushing through. She had the boyfriend that she was seeing right after Ode to Billie Joe came out was trying to claim credit for writing the song.
Oh my God.
And the guy, again, on cocaine and rhinestones, went in and did a comparison of his lyrics and her lyrics. And it's it's night and day. And he's like, and I like this, recording artist. However, he lied and he did not write her song.
Oh, it was a recording artist?
It was. It was. And
damn.
And yeah, it was.
That's harsh.
It was really harsh. But Bobbie Gentry, folks, y'all, she's still out there and she deserves a lot of credit. Interesting tidbit. Her song, Ode to Billie Joe, was covered by Lou Donaldson, which my husband Chad had heard of. It's a jazz cover of the song. And it is one of the most sampled drum breaks in hip hop history.
Oh, wow.
So her song, which was covered by this jazz artist, is used in nearly 200 other songs, including I can never say his name. Sorry. Kanye West. Kanye. Thank you. Shit. Kanye West, Jesus Walks, a Tribe.
Yeah. That album is,
Yeah, A Tribe Called
Quest.
Yes. Thank you. Y'all speak for me, please.
Got it.
My mouth not working. So Clap Your Hands is used in that song and other songs by Lauryn Hill, Drake, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and
the drum beat from Ode to Billie Joe.
Well,
from a a cover.
A cover of it. So not directly.
Jazz artist.
Yes, but the cover of it is used in basically so many hip hop songs.
It's just to listen to that.
Yeah, it's for real. I know what we're doing
because I know these songs.
Absolutely, I'll play it for you because I played it for my husband Chad. So that is Bobbie Gentry and the Ode to Billie Joe.
Patrice, that was awesome.
Woohoo!
So fun.
Ode to Billie Joe.
That was a gold.
Yes, that was
piece
very good.
That I was not expecting. Right
now, I want to know this person because we'll take this up in the after talk.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Why am I opening this now? I'm gonna eat. I'm not. I'm gonna open it and then I'm gonna set it aside.
I just gave Marleah the look.
Yeah, she did. It's like, what are you doing? Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle.
She's like, I'm done. I'm eating it.
Crinkle, crinkle.